Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new to the channel too, want to hit the subscribe button, that would help me out immensely. Welcome back to another suspension install. I forgot I didn't have GK Tech's rear lower control arms and or their rear traction arms. So as soon as I found that out, of course, I full sent and ordered these right away. So like I mentioned, we have GK Tech's rear lower control arms. These ran me a little over $400, and then the adjustable rear traction arms, which ran me I think like $117. Not 100% too sure, but we finally have now just about everything GK Tech makes for the R chassis. The reason why I bought these is because I just want to have almost new everything, especially suspension components. And with these adjustable arms here, we have quite a bit of adjustment we can do. But for me, I'm liking how the Skyline is sitting in terms of rear fitment right now. So I'm just going to adjust everything before we install the car to factory OEM specs. My fitment is great. Any more camber I'm going to have to pull, and anything less is just not my style on this car. And it did rain the other day, and I did kind of send the Skyline, and I think my rebound wasn't enough, and I did nick the lip of the T7R on the rear portion of the quarter here, but that is okay. Nothing a little white Sharpie can't fix. But I also made time the other day to paint correct and ceramic coat the rear bumper. Look at that shimmer, that flake, it looks great. Also, I just went ahead and ceramic coated the D-Max front guards, also came out nice. I didn't touch the hood or the bumper yet because I am waiting on my buddy Albert to give me a quote on paint protecting filming the hood and bumper so I can drive this car comfortably. Also going to be investing in some DIY side skirts so I don't rip or ruin the bottom of these freshly painted BN Sports side skirts. And I'm also thinking of putting a front splitter too on the BN front bumper. Again, this should be a fairly quick and easy install. We'll just jack up the car, take off the wheel, pop out the OEM rear lower control arm, which is 2 bolts to the chassis and then a ball joint to the knuckle, and then to the traction arm, just 2 bolts, one to the knuckle, one to the chassis of the car or the subframe. We have to take out the sway bar too and do our adjustments, install everything, and it should be good. Of course, I'll definitely need a alignment afterwards because I haven't aligned the car since I put the 18s on, the front and rear. And I do need to visit Eden Customs soon anyways, because within the next month or less, we will be starting our turbo build. So I went ahead and adjusted and torqued down both the rear lower control arms and the rear traction arms. Again, just went with OEM specs, so these are adjusted to 15 millimeters and torqued down. And the overall length of the rear traction arm should be 210 millimeters, which I also torqued down. Now the fun part, jacking up the car and uninstalling the OEM equipment. It is a new day, surprisingly. So after I took the wheel off, I decided to let all these bolts that I will be uninstalling soak in PB Plaster. So here we have our rear traction arm, got the nut and bolt soaked there. On the lower control arm, we got the nut and bolt on both inward and outward of the chassis soaking. Also, we have the nut to our ball joint soaking as well in PB Plaster. I think it should be good now. Give each bolt a couple of taps to shock them, and hopefully removing both of these arms will be a piece of cake. Quick update, so I got the stock rear traction arm off. I'm just gonna go ahead and align it and have the GK Tech traction arm correspond with the OEM length. Honestly guys, it's a big pain in the ass. So I got all those bolts and nuts loosened. So we gotta take out the sway bar. Again, traction arm is out. There's barely any room. I did have to take out my camber arm I'm gonna have to take out the tow arm as well, and actually the axle itself, because if you can see where to go, right there, there's the nut, and the axle boot is sitting right on top. So I just have to take out the axle nut and pull out the knuckle ever so slightly so I have access to that bolt there. I'll use my ball joint severing tool to get rid of that, and hopefully it's as easy as that because I wasn't really expecting all this extra work. So I'm gonna go ahead and line all this up, double check my measurements on the rear load control arm, and reinstall everything. Update, finally got one of the rear lower control arms out. This is the driver's side. This was a big pain in the ass because of the room I didn't have. I had to drop all the arms, had to drop the axle, so I had access to reach this nut here to sever the ball joint from the knuckle. I just use a pulley remover tool, save you the trouble. So this is what it pretty much looks like right now. Again, separate the coil, the arms. Now I just have to put in the new shank down here that GK Tech supplied. GK Tech does also make a rear drop knuckle. I mean, at this point I should have just ordered it and put it in, but I don't need this car any lower, honestly. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in the shank. I'll let you guys know what it looks like, and then reassemble all these arms, and I will knock out the passenger side tomorrow. After a long hour and 10 minutes of adjusting every single arm to get the knuckle back on, I finally completed the driver's side. So for the lower arm, got all the helm joints, rose joints tightened, torqued down to spec. I did readjust these twice. Instead of extending them 15 millimeters, I extended them 20 millimeters so I can compensate for the new rear tension arm, which does need a little bit more of adjustment. In terms of camber, kept it the same. I am towing a little bit inward, but nothing too dramatic. Unfortunately, I did ruin my perfect alignment, but the good news is it should be better than ever next time I take it in. But that install honestly sucked so bad. I didn't know I had to take everything out, but now that I know for the Japanese passenger side that I'll just go ahead and remove all the arms, take out the axle, and everything should hopefully go as smoothly as I think it will. Day 3 of this install, working on the Japanese passenger side. Got all the arms out to make life easier. I just got out the OEM rear lower control arm, matched up the GK Tech with the additional 5 millimeters. I extended it from stock. Again, to make life easier, just go ahead and take out all of your control arms. I'm going to have to realign the car anyway, so it wasn't really an issue for me. But this side again went significantly smoother. Now I'm just gonna put the shim into the OEM ball joint hole, put the rear lower control arms in and the rear tension arm, bolt everything back up, double check the work, and this install will be done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally done. Got all of the arms back in, all bolted up and torqued down to spec. This side was actually a pain in the ass too. Just lining up the helm joints to the original mounting points on the subframe is just really tedious, but I managed with only a few curse words and some patience. I just have to do a quick eyeball adjustment, but like I mentioned, I lined up everything to OEM spec except for the rear lower control arm, but I did the rear tension arm and everything seems so far a-okay. So I'm just gonna go to the other side, torque down and install the sway bar end links, and this install should be completed. We are done, everybody. That took so long, that was so painful, that sucks so bad, but honestly overall a successful install. Got it done, triple checked all the nuts and bolts, made sure none of the arms were binding, made sure there was adequate clearance for what needed to have clearance. I did all that work honestly for me to retain the same fitment, but knowing that I am fully GK Tech equipped, both front and rear, knowing that I have all new hardware, there's no more 30-year-old metal, gives me a better peace of mind. In person, since I did extend the lower control arms to 20 millimeters instead of 15, there is a slight bit more of track width. Again, you can notice more in person. Toe on both sides is a little bit inward, but once I get the alignment, I'm going to see if I can have them raise it like maybe an inch and take out maybe a degree or a degree and a half of camber, or maybe I'll just leave it how it is. As for the driver's side, it looks significantly better than the passenger side. Again, all the nuts and bolts are torqued down to spec. All the arms don't bind, everything is good. Sway bar end links are torqued down under load. So I would honestly say a job well done. So now that we have all these suspension components installed, just one more alignment and the Skyline should hopefully be sitting near perfect or perfect. And after the alignment, I am happy to say we will be jumping right into our turbo build. So as you guys know, that is the last step for this car before it's completed. I am going to be running a Garrett GTX 3071R. It's not too big, it's not too small. Full boost is around, I think, like 38 or 4,000 RPM, which is right where I want it to be. It's a good mid to high range turbo from what I've read, and I'm incredibly stoked. The turbo I got is capable of 500 pounds, which is a lot, but me personally, I want to run a conservative 280 to 300 wheel. I have all of these supporting mods needed. I got the standalone. We're going to be running 800cc injectors, upgrading the fuel pump, running a earth grounding kit so we can have a constant 12 volts from the pump to the battery. I'll be doing an LS1 alternator swap. I have all the brackets for that so we can have stable voltage. We're increasing 80 amps to 140, which should really relieve a lot of stress for the electrical system. What else? Oh yeah, then we need to get custom intercooler piping, which I paid up a couple of companies or shops in my town that are more than happy to help me out, so that is sweet. We just need to have an intake piping and then a custom, what do you want to call it? Intercooler piping. I will also be converting MAF to MAP. The Haltech Elite 2000 has an integrated 3-bar MAP sensor, so that is sweet. That will eliminate a lot of problems. So I do have a Z32 MAP that I will no longer be needing, so if you are interested in a OE Z32 MAP, please let me know. The brand is ISR, brand new. Hasn't honestly even seen sunlight yet. Just shoot me a DM in the messages if you are interested. I am willing to ship. And once we have everything installed and street tuned, then dyno tuned, the Skyline is honestly exactly where I want it to be. And the next step after that will be building some baller 3-piece wheels, but that'll come maybe sometime at the end of this year or next year, because my main focus after the Skyline is finally doing the rebuild and full restoration on the Prelude. So that is going to conclude this portion of this vlog. Thank you everybody so much for the continuous love and support. If you have any questions regarding the install, be free to shoot me a message in the comment section below, but I would highly recommend to check out all of GK Tech's videos because they go more in depth. This was a pretty straightforward but very tedious install, so again, hit up GK Tech and watch their videos for any questions. But thank you again everybody for your continuous love and support. And if you're new to the channel, want to hit the subscribe button too, that'd be awesome. And remember, aim high, drive low. We'll catch you next video. Take care.